Okay, in this section, we're looking at a typical finished basement space. And we have the stairs coming from the upper level. And remember that this staircase is actually counted on the main level as square footage, and it's also counted on the lower level as finished square footage. And here, this is actually like a walkout basement. So your measurements are actually going to the outside and actually to a deck in this case. But the measurements are pretty simple. It's just like you want to do the upstairs. In this case, we're going to come from right here. We're going to do a width measurement across the room, which in this case is 28.5. Okay, we've got an exterior wall on this side and an exterior wall on this side. So instead of 28.5, we've got a 29.5 measurement. Now this particular basement has finished area. It's got this family room or great room. It's got a full bathroom. It's got a little office area. It's got a bedroom also. And it has unfinished storage area. So you really got two different categories. Now, when you're doing basements, there's really only three categories of basement space. There's finished, which just looks just like the upper level. There's partly finished, which has some components. Let's just say it has finished drywall, but it doesn't have a finished ceiling, or it doesn't have flooring or something. It's not exactly like the upper level. Well, that's considered partly finished. And then you have unfinished space, which is concrete floors, unfinished walls, unfinished ceiling. So the worst case scenario that you have in a basement home is three categories of space. And if you're going to compare apples to apples, the appraiser or even other agents really need to know what those categories of space are. You don't want to compare, let's say if we have 1,000 square feet of finished living area, and then we've got 200 square feet of unfinished space or partially finished space. Well, you don't want to compare that to a home that's got 1,200 square feet of finished living area. It's just like every other living area. The goal is always apples to apples. But here you're going to measure it just like you would an upper level. If you're taking interior measurements, you're going to add for 6 inches for the width of the exterior walls. Now in this case, we've got an exterior wall here. When we get to the other end of the house, we've got the unfinished space, which we'll walk through in just a minute. But in that case, that is where the wall measurement will go. It stops at the finished wall plus the addition of 6 inches from that space. When you're in the unfinished space, the measurement starts there and goes to the exterior wall. So basically, you're giving the finished space the benefit of the doubt. You're giving them the largest square footage and the most valuable space. So even though the full measurement would include partially finished or unfinished space really, and this finished area, you want to just make sure that the finished area goes from this sheetrock wall to the sheetrock wall in the hallway. I'll show you in a minute. And then both of these measurements are just like this width measurement. You're going to include 6 inches for each exterior wall. So basements really aren't difficult. It's the same thing as doing slope ceilings and whatever. You just got to follow the rules. Just like measuring upper levels, if you're taking the measurements from the interior of the house, add 6 inches for each exterior wall. Now, if you can get, say you have a window where you can open it here, I could put my tape measure outside that window and actually walk with my tape measure to the end, and it may be a couple of inches different. And you can do that, and a lot of appraisers do that. But if you want to just be safe and follow the square footage guidelines, you can measure it from this interior wall and just add the 6 inches for each exterior area. Now I'm going to try to walk you through this other space without moving the camera too much here. So you can see as we come back by the staircase, and then you're coming to just a standard hall area, and I'm going to bump the camera on you, sorry. And all this is the same, the ceiling heights are acceptable. It's finished living area, just like the upper level. You've got a finished bathroom down here. Space is equal to the upstairs living area. It's not GLA because all that space, anything GLA is above grade, which this is not. You've got a little office area which is finished up, and of course there will be flooring in here. Then on this side we've got a bedroom here. And actually we do have another bedroom up here on the left side. So we've got two bedrooms down here. Okay, and now you're going to see where the exterior wall comes in. This is the door that leads us to the unfinished living area. So we're going to basically, your measurement is coming basically to this point right here, and then we're going to add the width of this exterior wall. So my finished measurement starts right here. It doesn't end at this point here. It ends on this side. Now when I take my measurement from here to the end of the wall, the measurement starts right here and goes to that wall, and you only add for the exterior measurement on the outside wall only one time. But when you come through this unfinished area, you can see how you've got this space. Oh, sorry. Okay. And you're just going to follow the walls and do your measurements. But remember, this outside wall right here, this is your exterior measurement right here for the finished living area. You've got space over here. You've got an exterior door. And this is actually a good space. I mean, this is the perfect definition of unfinished space. You've got a concrete floor, unfinished walls, and an unfinished ceiling. And it also helps you to kind of see what the exterior of the wall looks like. You know, you've got these 2x6s here, the windows in there, you've got this outside sheathing board on here. So by adding the 6 inches, most of the time you come pretty close. A lot of basements may be, 7 or 8 inches. It kind of really depends on how they do the exterior. If it's concrete block, you have just a little bit more. But in most cases, this is the width that you're going to come up with right here, and you kind of know what's inside the wall. So just follow that 6 inches. And remember here, this is unfinished space, and this wall with this finish on it right here, this is the first measurement for the unfinished space right here to this wall, excuse me, to the outside finished wall. So you got one interior measurement to one exterior measurement. And on this end, we are going from this unfinished space all the way to the other end where you can see that window at the very end. So this is my finished living area right here. So just don't make basements more complicated than they need to be, and always follow the apples to apples comparisons, and you'll do fine.